Welcome to a very special video service of the New Vision Spiritualist Center. It's Halloween time, and that means we'll close out this series of talks with haunted houses. I am Bill Patridge, the minister to this church. Before we begin, please like, subscribe, and give me a big thumbs up. Help me spread the light and truth of spiritualism. Let's start today's service with the invocation. Let us pray. Infinite intelligence, in this time-honored tradition, when the veil between the worlds are thin, grant us the strength and wisdom to rise above fear and help us to better understand the ways of earthbound spirits, and allow us with love and kindness to ease their situations. Amen. Please follow along and recite aloud with me our Declaration of Principles. These are our current understandings on how to live a more spiritual life. The original 6 principles were adopted into our faith back in 1899. They have been changed over time as we gain new insights as to how to live a more spiritual life. We create a fellowship among ourselves by reciting these principles whenever we gather together. This helps gives us spiritual strength, understanding, and a moral compass to our lives. Please follow along on the next screens and say them aloud with me. You can't really have a talk about Halloween without bringing up haunted houses. So, what would we call a haunted house? A haunted house is a house or other building often perceived as being inhabited by disembodied spirits of the dead, who may have been former residents or were familiar with the property. Parapsychologists attribute a haunting to the spirits of the dead and the effect of violent or tragic events in the building's past, such as murder, accidental death, or suicide. In a 2005 Gallup poll, 37% of Americans, 28% of Canadians, and 40% of the UK expressed a belief that houses could be haunted. Legends abound about haunted houses and have long appeared in history. The earliest surviving report of a haunted house comes from a letter written by Pliny the Younger to his patron, Lucius Sura, in which he describes a haunted villa in Athens, Greece. Nobody would live in the house until the philosopher Athenodorus arrived in the city. He was tempted by the low rent and was undeterred by the house's reputation, so he moved in. The ghost, appearing as an old man bound with chains, appeared to Athenodorus during the first night and beckoned the philosopher to follow him. The apparition vanished once it reached a spot in the courtyard, and Athenodorus carefully marked that spot. The following morning he requested the magistrate to have the spot dug up, where the skeleton of an old man bound with chains was discovered. The ghost never appeared again after the skeleton was given a proper burial. Now, let's talk about the various theories of haunted houses. One of the most popular theories on ghostly encounters was developed in the 1920s, and it's called the place theory. Other terms, which are essentially the same idea, are the stone tape theory and the imprint theory. Place theory states that the environment can hold the memory of past events, which can be viewed, heard, tasted, smelled, or felt at a later time by a person with sufficient sensitivity. This theory is often used to explain residual hauntings. In these hauntings, the ghost is not conscious and is more like a recording that's being replayed. These are not conscious souls, but rather a type of environmental imprint or video. There is no specific explanation or mechanization which can explain how the environment can hold such events or recordings. The general belief is that there is an extreme amount of energy released during a tragic event or death that is somehow burned into the environment. A flaw with this theory is that a tragic event or a violent death must have occurred at the location for a haunting or haunting-type phenomenon to occur. Therefore, if a location doesn't have this violent history, then nothing could have been burned or imprinted into the environment, which limits a haunting to one particular location. Unlike place or imprint theory, it isn't the event which causes an imprint into the electromagnetic tracings, but rather the telepathic distress signal an individual had sent during a traumatic event or violent death, which is subsequently imprinted into the environment. There is also the spontaneous apparitional trace theory, which contends that in every haunted location, there was an individual who sent a telepathic distress signal to someone with whom they were emotionally linked and had been stuck in that location. Perhaps this telepathic distress call is what sensitives and ghost hunters are encountering in those locations. This hypothesis can account for a great deal of recurring apparitions and hauntings. According to this theory, a haunting doesn't have to coincide with the location or the origin of the tragic event or telepathic distress message, but can occur at the destination or the endpoint of the telepathic message. This accounts for why apparitions of deceased people who have never resided in or visited a haunted location will appear there. This may tie in into what the Society for Psychical Research developed as a theory back in the late 1800s. They were convinced of a theory of a crisis apparition, in which a person in distress would send out a telepathic distress signal to someone else. This fits very well with the spontaneous apparitional trace theory. Now, the next theory is called the social theory. Haunted houses may serve a higher purpose than just acting as a meeting place for a collection of ghosts. It can be likened to when the house itself has a conscience. This occurs when something within the walls exists a force with a will of its own. For one reason or another, the house is imbued with the ability to act as a conductor of supernatural energy. Under these circumstances, a house can create the ghost, or at least hold the ghost in place due to its magnetic properties. There are other haunted house stories that focus mostly on the ghosts that haunt the house. The house is just their stage, a platform that enables these specters to show off their ghostly antics. This stage can provide the perfect atmosphere for their performance, if the lighting is gloomy enough, and if the props and furnishings give the surroundings the right touch of haunt. In the social theory, haunted houses that exist as an entity are greater than the sum of the parts of its ghost. Or maybe the ghosts infuse together to create a haunting reality that is completely new. A house of this kind is not haunted because it has ghosts. Rather, this type of house is haunted because it harbors memories that can produce ghosts. It's haunted because it creates energy that leads to supernatural phenomenon. It's haunted because of its very nature. It's not a house haunted by a ghost. It's a haunted house. See the difference? Hayward Carrington was a member of the American Society for Psychical Research. Carrington spent his life researching paranormal phenomenon and was writing books on the subject in the early 20th century. In his book, The Coming Science, Carrington explores numerous topics, from telepathy to hypnosis to spiritualism and haunted houses. Carrington offers 4 theories as to how a house might be haunted. It is this 4th option that he is most intrigued by. It's a theory, he argues, that is explained by his terms, post-mortem telepathic hypnotism. The theory is based on an article by F.W.H. Myers entitled Recognized Apparitions Occurring More Than a Year After Death. This begins with the accepted belief in telepathy existing within the immaterial, psychic, or spiritual world. Myers believed that telepathy was the means of communication between spirits and the living. Carrington is suggesting that ghosts can put the living under hypnosis in order to make them feel sensations or to prevent certain movements. So, the next time you're trapped in a haunted house and feel something spooky, just remember it's probably nothing than dead people trying to hypnotize you. at least according to Carrington. Another theory is that a majority of reported events seem to have less to do with stereotypical spirits of the dead and a great deal to do with time. Many sightings seem to be images that behave like a loop of film or videotape, and they're all of past events. In the stone tape theory, powerful emotions such as fear, hate, and anger leave lasting impressions in the surroundings. Our sensitivity to these things might be a pre-language survival mechanism that warned our more sensitive ancestors of places that were dangerous. There is a recorded emotions theory, and I believe this theory extends to ghosts. Ghosts might be the result of human emotions that have been projected during traumatic events. Events involving grisly death, prolonged tragic circumstances, and drama are likely to leave behind an imprint. Therefore, a ghost is like a photographic record that occasionally is visible to sensitive people. It is seen like a film clip from the past, sometimes with the same scene repeating in the same spot. What is seen is certainly not a conscious spirit trapped in a time warp and repeating the same task for all eternity. We would call this the energy of history. The Stone Tape is a television play that was broadcast on BBC as a Christmas ghost story in 1972, combining aspects of science fiction and horror. The story concerns a team of scientists who moved into their new research facility, a renovated Victorian mansion that had had a reputation for being haunted. The team investigates the phenomenon, trying to determine if the stones of the building are acting as a recording medium for past events. Spiritualists believe that at the time of death, the spirit leaves the physical body and manifests in an etheric body, also sometimes called the subtle body or the body of light. The etheric body enables the continuation of the spirit, and with it, our memories, feelings, identity, and consciousness. At death, we let go of the confines of the physical body, and in this vehicle of the etheric body, we soar into the beautiful world of beyond. Sometimes, at the point of death, there remains unfinished business of great importance, and the spirit person may urgently want to contact loved ones on earth. Many of the communications that non-mediumistic people receive come just days after a passing. We don't know for certain why this is the case, but perhaps during this time the spirit's energy is different in some way, to give it the one last chance of communication before moving on. Usually, when a spirit appears to a loved one, it is for the purpose of saying a silent goodbye or to let their loved ones know that they have survived. There are occasions when a conscious spirit appears to haunt a specific place. For example, spiritualism was founded soon after the Fox sisters reported in 1848 that strange rapping sounds surrounded them and came from a spirit whose remains were later discovered in the basement of their house up in Hydesville, New York. There are those who believe that sometimes spirits fall asleep or become trapped on the earth plane, either because they don't know they're dead or helplessly clinging to their former lives. To be fair, there are several scientific theories that explain haunted houses and make them go away. And these are given by people who just don't believe. But they are as follows: ultrasound, mold, carbon dioxide, excess electricity, drafts, and even solar winds. Now the question is, what are ghosts? It is well known that many believe ghosts to be the disembodied spirits of humans and animals that once walked the face of the earth, while others believe ghosts to be some sort of unintelligible energy imprint that has remained imprisoned on our environment. Some believe ghosts to be demons, while others don't believe in ghosts at all. Some ghosts are possibly the power of the human mind projecting forth apparitions of loved ones. Some ghosts are people trapped in our earthly world, wandering spirits who struggle in a temporary hell, being unable to move beyond the past. Or are ghosts simply rare glimpses of the past that are being replayed within the physical environment, being seen only sparingly? Now, here are the top theories of ghosts in a nutshell. Number 1. Ghosts are spirits of humans who have passed away. Number 2. Ghosts are visitors from another dimension. 3. Ghosts are demons attempting to trick us, or angels here to protect us. 4. What we see as ghosts are the residue of past events somehow recorded into the environment. Number 5. Ghosts are products of our mind, which may be more powerful than we realize. Now, I need to tell you why you shouldn't be afraid of spirits. Hans Holzer wrote that the popular notion of ghosts is that they are always dangerous, fearful, and hurt people. Nothing could be further from the truth. Ghosts have never harmed anyone except through fear found within the witness of his own doing and because of his own ignorance as to what ghosts represent. Lloyd Auerbach, another respected ghost hunter, agrees, and he says, in many cultures and religions around the world, ghosts are thought to harbor ill will toward the living. This is unfortunate, since the evidence from thousands of cases suggests that people don't change their personalities or motivation after death, nor do they turn evil. So, why do we have fear of ghosts and spirits? There are two main reasons. Fear of ghosts, known as spectrophobia or phasmophobia, most obviously stems from our fear of the unknown. This is a deep-seated fear that is hardwired into our genetic makeup, the primitive parts of our brain that respond to instinct, a holdover from our cave-dwelling ancestors. This fear flushes our body with adrenaline when we encounter a threat, preparing us to either fight or flee. There's another component to this fear, when that in something in the dark is perceived as a ghost. After all, a ghost is a manifestation of a person who is dead. So now, we're confronted not only with what we think is a threat to ourselves, but a representation of death itself. Not only is it an entity that we don't understand, it's also a resident of a place that many of us fear, the mysterious land of the dead. The second main reason we fear ghosts is that we have been further conditioned to do so by popular culture. Almost without exception, books, movies, and TV shows portray ghosts as evil, capable of mischief, injury, and even death. If popular media was to believe, ghosts actually enjoy scaring us out of our wits. What Hollywood and TV portray are very inaccurate beliefs and cannot be taken as truthful. They show the spirits of the dead as being evil in nature, filled with malice and harmful intent. But I assure you, this is not the case. Creepy, rotting, vengeful ghosts might make for exciting movies, but they have very little basis in real experience. Ghost and haunting phenomena are harmless, but as much as they may unnerve and mystify us, there is nothing really to fear. In general, haunting phenomena seems to be recordings of past events that took place in a particular environment. This is why haunted houses can play back the recordings of footsteps on a staircase, for example, or even the voices of an argument that took place many years ago. Apparitions can sometimes be seen performing the same task over and over again. True ghosts might be earthbound manifestations of those who have passed on. They are sometimes able to interact with the living and relay messages. In either case, the phenomenon doesn't pose any real threats. A voice is captured through EVPs can at times be rude or even downright abusive. But again, there is no real threat or physical harm. Let's look at the signs that can tell you if your house is haunted. You spy strange, unexplained shadows out of the corner of your eye. Your pets start acting oddly, like dogs barking seemingly at nothing. You start to hear voices or whispers. Your lights start turning on and off by themselves. Your light bulbs blow out more frequently. You hear the sound of things being dropped, but then there's nothing there. You can see twinkling lights, myths, or unexplained moving shapes. You experience sudden drops in temperature, usually in just one particular spot. You can see ectoplasm. The inexplicable movement of objects. Personality changes. Previous homeowners who have been long since dead. Physical and emotional disorientation. Feelings of being watched or spied on. Feelings of someone standing close behind you. Feelings of being touched by unseen hands. Feelings that the hair on the back of your neck is standing up. Feelings of cobweb on your face or body. There might be a distinct smell or the scent of perfume that you can't recognize. You could feel a cold breeze, as though someone has just walked right past you. You could have dark, depressing feelings, especially in one particular location. There can be persistent, unexplained noises. Your electronics will act strangely. Eerie shadows. Household items will disappear and then reappear at random, and doors will open or close. Now, what to do with a haunted house? If you suspect that your house is haunted, here's what you can do to find out and then take some action. If there are weird, unexplained things going on in your house, sounds, sights, movements, or other signs of a haunting, here are the steps you should take. First, rule out all the rational explanations. A person who has experienced some of these phenomena might have cause to believe that his or her house is haunted. But maybe not. In fact, according to most experts, probably not. The human mind and senses, as any magician will tell you, can be easily fooled. and people can often mistake explainable, if unusual, occurrences in their homes for the paranormal. Noises could be the house settling, plumbing, or even such things as mice and squirrels up in the attic. Opening and closing doors could be faulty hinges or be caused by drafts. Disappearing objects could just be carelessness and forgetfulness. Shadows could be just that, shadows, maybe caused by the passing car's headlights. As real as some of these things might seem to you, they could just really be projects of your imagination. Of course, the more extreme the phenomenon, the harder they are to dismiss. And if multiple witnesses experience the same phenomenon, they are likely to be taken more seriously. Get help in finding rational explanations for the phenomenon. A plumber might help you find the cause of that bunging pipe. A carpenter can fix that door from opening and closing on its own. When trying to figure this out, it helps to keep a journal. If you feel you've ruled out rational explanations for the phenomenon that's taking place in your house, and that they still occur on a more or less regular basis, document them. Keep a journal of the phenomenon as they happen. Now, when should you call for a paranormal investigator? Only when you've ruled out any rational explanations for the phenomenon you're experiencing and are thoroughly convinced that your house is truly haunted. Then you should contact the experts. If the phenomenon is extreme and you feel that you and your family are in some kind of physical or psychological danger, you should call for help right away. Now, who are the experts? There are hundreds of paranormal investigation organizations across the U.S. and Canada. You can find a state-by-state listing of many of them, although I can't vouch for the expertise of any of them. Most certainly, they vary in expertise and in the degree of their practical experience. So you should be careful in your choice. Now, how many haunted houses are there? Literally thousands. Virtually every city, county, and state will have a list of haunted houses. Every moderate to large city will have a ghost tour. Some are worth the money. Others are bogus. Be careful in your choices. Now, here's a little side note about real estate laws and haunted houses. Real estate laws vary from state to state. Most real estate laws require sellers to disclose material facts. But what's a material fact? Material facts include things like leaks, structural issues, age of items that wear down, mold and mildew, and so on. Other material facts could include the taxes involved, easements, or overlaps on adjacent properties, and title issues. However, there are some things that have to be disclosed that just might surprise you. For example, under California Civic Code 1710.2, a death on a property should be disclosed if it happened within the past 3 years. If the buyer asks about a death on the property, the seller must answer truthfully, even beyond the 3-year period. Haunted houses resales exist in the gray area, but there's enough cases for legal issues. In one notable haunted house real estate case from 1991 in New York, a buyer sued when he found out that the seller had written about the house being haunted in the local paper and in Reader's Digest. The court allowed the buyer to void the contract, although it did not find the seller's actions tantamount to fraud. According to the Florida Real Estate Commission, where we're based from, Chapter 689 states that the property, if it was the site of a homicide or suicide or death, it's not a material fact that has to be disclosed. The same can be said of houses considered haunted, where a disclosure is not required. No cause of action arises against a real estate licensee or owner for failure to disclose. Now it's time to draw some conclusions. Paranormal means something that's outside the realm of normal. In other words, all unexplained hauntings are considered paranormal. However, not all paranormal activities involve ghosts. A house with paranormal activity, but no ghosts, could have elves or fairies. Its visitors might be creatures from cryptozoology or aliens. I suppose vampires and zombies could be in that mix too. Yeah, I'm being flippant. But hey, it's Halloween. I doubt that all of it's ghostly. But for now, I have no better labels for the weird things that occur in a haunted house. Most investigators default to the term paranormal for sites that it covers, and they can cover every possibility. Any site with strange phenomenon might be haunted, but it might not be. It might be a construction issue. It could be a result from tilted floors, unshielded electrical wiring, or a deep underground spring. Never leap to conclusions when a house seems to be haunted. It may have nothing to do with ghosts, but still paranormal. Just remember, all ghostly phenomena are paranormal, but not all paranormal phenomena are ghosts. Hey, thanks for bearing with me through this Halloween season. I hope you enjoyed this. For those of you who have been affected by the world situation, please know that you are in the prayers of our healing team as we send out spiritual healing energies into the world to help with your recovery. You can visit our Facebook page at New Vision Spiritualist Center and put in a request for absent spiritual healing. All we need is a first name and city. Because of HEPA laws, we can't ask for any more information. You can also visit our National Church website at nsac.org. Open up the What We Believe page and scroll down to the Spiritual Healing page. There you will find a place to request spiritual healing. We know that healing energy can be directed to anyone, anywhere. There are no limits as to how far this energy can travel. We have a healing prayer that we recite together during the spiritual healing session of our service. I wish for you to follow along on the next screens and say this aloud with me. Normally, this is the part in which we pass the hat around. This church continues because of your generosity and belief in our faith. We use tithe.ly as a way of giving a donation to this church. Please see the link on our Facebook page for more details. Please know that no one, not I, our staff, or any member of our board ever receives a penny from what you donate. We give our services to you freely as an act of love. We have an extremely low overhead, and we watch our expenses carefully. But bills need to be paid, and your kind donation will go a long way to us keeping our doors open. Thank you for your giving, as we give to you. And now, for the benediction. Infinite intelligence, we give thanks for the message received today, and bless us with greater knowledge of our unseen friends and loved ones who share this great universe with us. Let us see Halloween in a new light in which we can share with others. Amen. Thank you for watching. Please visit us next week as we explore the amazing phenomenon of spiritualism.